Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Come along with me as I spend the next 30 days eating fully raw vegan. To give you a little backstory, I have been vegan for about 6 to 7 years now, meaning no animal products, no meat, no dairy, milk, butter, eggs, cheese, all the things. Now, when I had my son almost 3 years ago, I really started craving cheese again. So I started to reincorporate that into my diet in little bits, mainly if I'm craving mozzarella sticks or something when I'm out. So nothing too crazy, but I'm not proud of it. And so I'm looking to cut that back out again. But technically, for the past 7 years, I have not had any meat whatsoever. All of my milk, butter, cheese, and egg products that I utilize when I'm cooking and baking at home are all plant-based versions, if I'm using them at all. So today I wanted to walk you through day 1 of 30, where I do an entire month of eating raw food only, meaning plants, vegetables, completely raw, uncooked, as well as nuts and seeds and chugging my water. So you're not cooking a thing, and you're not eating anything that is processed, packaged, canned, that has preservatives in them, nothing of that nature. So basically, you're going to the grocery store solely to shop in the fresh produce area for the most part, and you've got all your things there. So I'm gonna walk you through what I'm going to prepare for myself on day 1. And I usually start by making 2 different meals so that I have a couple options to work with. And I'll rotate those 2 meals for up to a week, and then I'll make a new batch of something different, and so on and so forth. And now that I have a child, I don't have a ton of free time or energy. So some of the things I get, like for example, spiralized zucchini noodles or squash noodles. I used to make them by hand. Now I'll just buy them pre-cut. Saves me a little time. Any nuts and seeds you get, they are completely raw, not salted, not roasted. And I've got a few staple seasonings that I like to use: garlic powder, onion powder, pink Himalayan salt. And then this is the entire lineup of what I'm gonna use to make my first 2 meals. Now, when you're going raw, your best friends are going to be these guys: your blender and your food processor, if you want to save time when it comes to like chopping, slicing, dicing, preparing vegetables in that way. All of the sauces and dips and anything flavorful is going to be made in this baby right here. Oftentimes the base that I use to make all of my sauces are cashews and water, and from there I'll be adding in fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, herbs and seasonings depending on the flavor that I want, and I'll utilize water or lemon juice to adjust the consistency of the sauce that I'm making. My birthday is May 31st. This year I will be turning 38. And for the past 5 years, I have gone fully raw vegan for the entire month of May leading up to my birthday. And I like to start off my month of raw with a water fast. And I'll either do intermittent fasting, or I will do 24 hours water fast, 48 or 72. So 1, 2, or 3 days straight, just water only, absolutely nothing else whatsoever. And it's very important that when you're doing this to kind of keep your activity minimal so as to not overexert yourself and your body, but also make sure that you're taking in enough water. For me and my size, I like to take in about 2 liters of water, give or take, within a day when I'm doing my water fast. So make sure that you're really staying hydrated. When you feel hungry, you drink. When you get a headache, you drink. Your body is gonna go through some detoxing, and you're gonna feel some symptoms because of that. And so that water is gonna help you push through that day or those 2 or 3 days leading up to raw. And that way, when you start the raw diet, you can appreciate the textures and the flavors of fully raw, uncooked food. It just gives you more appreciation and more awareness of what you're putting in your body and what it actually can do for you. I have this little recipe book that I've been handwriting some of my favorite recipes in for the past few years, and everything in here is vegan, and a handful of the recipes in here are completely raw. So every year that I do my raw fast, I like to revisit this, pull out some of my favorite recipes, as well as try some new ones. So in this vlog over the next 30 days, I'm gonna be taking little snippets of videos, showing you some examples of what I like to eat when going raw. Let's get into the first recipes. To start my morning off right, I did a full body workout while drinking hot water with a slice of lemon and lime in it. And right now, as I am about to prepare my first few raw meals, I'm snacking on some fresh pomegranate, and then I have got my water ready to go for the day. So this right here is almost a full 2 liters. Even though it's obnoxious to carry around, utilizing this during my raw month really helps me keep track and make sure that I'm getting all the water in that I need. So I make sure to drink an entire one of these each day and maybe a little bit extra. Was that a lemon?
Mommy!
I've just finished preparing my first 2 meals to get me through the first week. These 2 pair with the zucchini noodles, and this mixture pairs with the romaine lettuce leaves, and I'll show you what these actually look like when they're put together. But for now, these are the only dishes that I use to make what I just made. I've got my blender, food processor, cutting board, knives, measuring spoons and cups, lids, a bowl, quick cleanup. And I actually have a good amount of food left over from what I purchased. So this will all go towards a few of my next meals. Kitchen is cleaned up. We are good to go. Something I forgot to mention is that aside from the 2 meals that I make per week to rotate, of course I'm going to be eating other things as well to snack on. So maybe it'll be a handful of nuts and seeds, or it'll be a whole fruit or a whole vegetable. Sometimes I like to make a guac dip with avocado, onions, tomatoes, all the good stuff. Another thing I like to make is a smoothie bowl, so blending up some fruits with maybe some coconut water, topping it off with a little bit of coconut, cacao nibs. I'll share all of these things throughout this month. Here is the first meal of my fully raw vegan month, and this is one of the meals I made this morning. And as you can see, the base is just romaine lettuce leaves as the wrap. And then the insides replicate something similar to what you might think of as chicken salad. So the meat, if you will, of the vegetable substance is a mixture of bell pepper, carrots, broccoli, red onion, and jalapeno. And then the dressing that I mixed it in is a blend of cashews, lemon juice, water, garlic, green onion, dill, and pink salt. So you might be pleasantly surprised at the flavor of this. It actually has a lot of sweet notes to it, and the texture and flavor is very similar to that of chicken salad, even though I haven't actually had chicken in, about 7 years? So this is meal number 1 on day 1. Day 2 on the raw. This is the other meal that I made yesterday. The base is zucchini, just spiralized into noodles. And the cream that I made in the blender is a mix of pine nuts, cashews, lemon juice, garlic, green onion, garlic powder, onion powder, pink salt, and rosemary. Now, I like to keep mine a little bit on the thicker side, because when you are preparing to eat your food, everything you make is raw and fresh, which means it has to stay in the fridge so it doesn't spoil. So when you eat it, you're usually eating fridge temp or room temp meals. You're not cooking to where your food is actually warm. So sometimes what you can do is add a little boiled hot water to, number 1, thin out the consistency of your dressing or your sauce, but to also add just a touch of warmth to your dish so it doesn't feel, you know, as cold as it would straight out the fridge. On the side, I just have some sun-dried tomatoes, and then I sprinkled some fresh basil over the top, and of course I've got my water right here. Hi, baby. I was craving something sweet, so I made this little recipe that was shared by a friend of mine. You take a date, you cut it in half, you remove the pit, and then I put on a little almond butter, agave nectar, and unsweetened coconut on the top. Believe it or not, the texture and the sweetness of all these things combined is very similar to a candy bar. When you're talking eating fully raw vegan, this is a really delicious and quick and easy sweet treat. Found a new recipe I wanted to try tonight, so here we go. Another one of my favorite recipes for a sweet treat for raw, so stay tuned to see what this is. For this pasta dish, once again, same zucchini noodles that are spiralized, and the sauce that I made is similar to a mac and cheese dinner. So it's a mixture of cashews, water, sun-dried tomatoes, nutritional yeast, olive oil, pink salt, garlic cloves, onion powder, and turmeric. And then for dessert, which is one of my favorites, this is a chocolate mousse, and it is made from cacao nibs, dates, avocado, coconut water, vanilla, and cinnamon, topped off with some fresh raspberries. Breakfast slash lunch for today is a smoothie bowl. The base is frozen mixed berries blended up with coconut water, and I've topped it with unsweetened coconut shavings, agave nectar, and some granola and some fresh fruit on top. And baby's having some too, right? Ooh, is it yummy? Here's another one of my favorite desserts. It is a chia seed pudding. For the base, I use either oat or almond milk, and I will mix it with chia seeds. The ratio I did for my full batch was 3 cups plant milk and 1 cup chia seeds, and it thickens up over time. And then I add in a little bit of organic raw maple syrup, agave nectar, cinnamon, and vanilla. You can adjust the texture based off of your preference, so the less chia seeds, the less thick it is going to be. The longer it sits, the more it gels up over time, so you can just sort of eyeball it, give it a few minutes, and keep adding, or, you know, adjust for the next time. This is a brunch option. I've got some avocado with a little salt and pepper, pink pineapple, watermelon, and grapes. Here we have a spring roll with dipping sauce. So for the inside of the roll, I used red and yellow bell pepper, carrots, beets, mango, cilantro, and fresh mint. And I just used 1 sheet of rice paper. You dip it in water, which makes it moldable. You can fold and shape your roll, and then it'll somewhat gum up and solidify as it sits. And for the sauce mixture, I combined a tiny bit of chili garlic sauce with almond butter, soy, brown sugar, and a fresh lime juiced. And when I initially made it, it's sort of a thicker paste texture. And so what I did was added just a little bit of hot water to thin it out for the portion that I'm using in this moment. So this is another great treat. It's a little sweet, a little spice, a little salt, lots of fresh raw veggies, and good flavor. This is a stuffed bell pepper. This is only half, and surprisingly enough, it's pretty dense and filling as is. Sometimes I'll do a whole one. Tonight I'm just doing half. And so the bell pepper is raw, and on the inside I have softened up some quinoa as well as some spicy black beans and mixed those two together. And then as far as the cream sauce and seasonings for flavor, I threw all of that in a blender. It's a mix of cashews, vegetable stock, crushed garlic, nutritional yeast, pink salt, onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, some sliced jalapenos, and then I'll add a little bit of basil, parsley, chili powder, lemon pepper, and then depending on how thick or thin you want the sauce to be, you can add a little water to thin it out, and then I mix all of that together to make the stuffing. This is an easy, flavorful salad that you could throw together. So for the noodles, I used green zucchini and yellow squash, and I spiralized those by hand with a little handheld spiralizer. And then I mixed in some edamame beans and pepperoncini, Kalamata olives, artichokes, onion, garlic, and a little bit of balsamic for added flavor. Another recipe in the making. This is a creamy chipotle pasta marinara. The noodles are raw zucchini, just spiralized. And for the sauce that I made in the blender, it's a combination of regular tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, red bell pepper, sunflower seeds, tarragon, chipotle chili powder, and fresh lemon juice. And then I've just topped it with a few sun-dried tomatoes and sprinkled some basil over top, and then I just have some fresh pomegranate juice right there. This is an easy snack that has a lot of flavor. I just have some softened chickpeas, and all I've done is mix in onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, and chili powder. And then this is a coconut wrap, and this is the brand that I often find. And in the back you'll see that it says raw, and under ingredients, organic coconut meat, coconut water, and coconut oil. You could either put the chickpeas inside, roll it up and eat it that way, or you can eat it with a spoon, tear a piece off, and take a bite. Here is the meal that I like to have to officially break my fast after I've completed the full 30 days completely raw vegan food. And so in the pot, I have a mix of vegetable stock and water, and then I've added olive oil, onion, green bell pepper, celery, carrot, garlic, black beans, tomatoes, and garbanzo beans, otherwise known as chickpeas. And then for the seasonings, I've thrown in a bunch of cumin, chili chipotle powder, cayenne pepper, basil, onion powder, garlic powder, and curry powder. So you can season it to taste. I like it pretty bold and flavorful. And then you can make it as thick or thin as you want it as far as the amount of broth and water. So I kind of like an even ratio, but this is what we are looking like. This is the first official cooked and warm meal that I've had in a full month. All right, guys, so that concludes my 30 days of going fully raw vegan with my diet. I hope that the recipes I shared with you in this video give you some inspiration to try some new things, whether it's for a day, a week, a month, however long that you see fit for yourself and your needs on a day-to-day basis. A lot of the recipes I use myself, I've either found on apps or through others that I follow on social media, or simply trial and error by finding out what I like, switching things up as far as textures, flavors, seasonings. A little bit can go a long way, and playing around with things until you figure out what you like has proved to be a good method for me. For those of you watching, I have a small challenge for you. Number one, if you are not yet vegan, I challenge you to incorporate a vegan meal, even if it's just one, into your weekly routine, and play around until you find what you like. Not all foods labeled vegan are healthy, and not all foods labeled vegan may be a flavor or texture that you personally enjoy. So do some research, play around, try new things until you find what you like, because I guarantee you that there are plenty of options out there for what you specifically are looking for that you can very easily get used to and make a transition to. Challenge number 2 is attempt to go fully raw with your vegan food, meaning nothing packaged and processed, no animal products, everything in its raw, fresh, natural state from the start. Meaning you're essentially shopping in the produce aisle at your grocery store. That may seem daunting to a lot of people, but once again, do a little bit of research, play around, You may be surprised at the vast amount of raw vegan recipes that are out there. In 2020, I took a course to become certified in whole food plant-based nutrition. And so to end off this video, I wanted to give you just a few minor bullet points of things for you to think about and take away from this experience. Please know that from what I share with you, there is so much more information out there, and you can always delve deeper and do the research yourself. These are just a few key takeaway points that I want you to think about if it's information that maybe you have not heard of before. So I will close it out here. Thank you for joining me, and stick around for this next segment. The 10 leading causes of death in 2020, number one being heart disease, 90% is diet related. Number two, cancers, 30 to 70% is attributed to diet. Number three, accidents. Number four, chronic lower respiratory, which antioxidants can improve your lung function. Number five, stroke. Fruits and vegetables can protect against this. Number six, Alzheimer's disease. You are at 40 to 60% lower risk if you're physically active and eat plant-based. Number seven, diabetes. With plants, you can dramatically reverse type 2, and you can reduce the use of medications for type 1. Number eight, influenza and pneumonia. Number nine, kidney disease. The higher rate of animal protein you intake, the higher the rates of kidney cancers. Number 10 being suicide. Genes do not determine disease on their own. Genes are simply the starting point for both health and disease. Nutrition plays a critical role in determining which genes, both good and bad, are expressed. Processed meats are a level 1 carcinogen, which means they are known to cause cancer in humans. This is the same category as cigarettes. Dietary choices affect physical, mental, emotional health, social connections, and the state of the environment. The NIH, National Institute of Health, of the 27 institutes, not one of them is dedicated to nutrition, and only 4% of the budget is on nutritional research. Nutrition is not emphasized in the biomedical research community. Most people are suffering from a lifestyle-related disease. In studies of animals and people, those who consume the most meat protein experience the most cancer. If the world would adapt to a plant-based diet, we could cut healthcare costs down by 70 to 80%.